This is the Then Everything After podcast with your boy Amax.
Chantel.
And Franklin, aka the King of Trainers. How we doing, guys?
Yo,
We're good, Fab. We're good. Hey, how's everyone doing?
Good. I know you two.
Cool, man. Cool.
Thick of it, right? Just mad busy for both of you today.
I think we have all been. Yeah, today's been crazy. I just finished coaching session, so it's like. But here we are. Let's get in. What are we talking about today? What is the schedule for us today?
So I know that we mentioned, and I think it's an important one actually. And I was gonna say, okay, this is about tweets, but you know what? I think it goes across social media. It goes across any place which is public online. And this is the concept of someone posting something out on the net without thinking, having a knee-jerk reaction, an emotional response, an angry response, whatever it might be, just speaking before thinking online. Yeah. So really, we're jumping into that conversation because I think a lot of people have missed the memo about social media and your post living forever. Doesn't matter if you deleted it, it lives forever. So who wants to kind of get this started? Like, let's go.
Cool. Wow, that's a topic that I've discussed before actually. I done a TED talk about 5 years ago about social media and people's information living online. I think it's a very not touchy but very delicate subject. I believe that people should be taught social media in school from a young age, like from infants, from infants and junior school, not just secondary school. Even though the legal age to be on social media is actually 13, we know that kids are actually joining social media before that age. The unfortunate thing is, no matter what you say on social media and what you tweet, it's always there, even if you delete it, because there are people that do obviously screenshots, etc., and people archive your stuff and stuff like that. So no matter when you put something out there that is deemed maybe like racist or or something, you got to be very careful in that. I think the problem is a lot of these social networks, it's developed from the MSN days. It's developed from the MySpace days. That back then those days were more kind of one-to-one social networks or flash social networks or something like that. But now when you're having conversational social networks like Instagram, Twitter, and they're conversational, in a normal conversation with your friends, you can say like kind of different things that you may not say in the public, and that's the truth. But then when it comes to social media, it's like you're standing on a stage in front of people you don't know, and they will attack you. So you got to be very careful, and that in itself is a big ask of people.
Boy, it's mad that it's a big ask. You would almost think that based on everything that's happened online and the type of reactions that we've seen, people would learn from other people's mistakes, because the mistake has happened a lot. It's not like it's just happened a couple of times. It's something that's happened again and again and again. And we've seen people go from having careers up here to disappearing off the face of the earth. We've heard stories of suicide based on people saying stuff like YouTubers and like various different figureheads online, where this is just completely blown up in their faces. What do you think it is that makes people think, I don't know, it doesn't apply to them, or it's like it's beyond them?
I don't think it's a case of they think it doesn't apply to them and it's beyond them, but I feel like we're in a time where people are they're oversharing, basically. They can't have a thought in their mind and tell a joke to somebody without having to tell everybody that joke. It's like, I feel like you go into things like Facebook and people share what they've had for breakfast and arguments on the bus, and every single thing of human interaction we used to have on a day-to-day becomes a public domain thing. So people lose that whole idea of what to share and what not to share. So they share everything and then they get caught out. And for me, it's just a dangerous thing because people's careers have been destroyed by saying the wrong thing and tweets and messages resurfacing 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when they were much younger. And is it fair to then hold them accountable? I mean, yes, hold them accountable, but if they started at the age of 15 and now they're 25, you know, should we be holding them accountable for that, or should we accept their apology as a genuine thing and let them move on? You know, is that really a fair thing to do?
I definitely think that also cancel culture as a whole has gripped the world. Does that make sense? So when people do find out what someone has tweeted maybe 5 years ago, the cancel culture crew are like, no, yeah, they're like, yeah, let's get him. Do you get what I mean? You know, I've experienced it a lot, you know, as you guys know.
Imagine, yes.
So, but I feel that people just need to chill out. If what is said by someone maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people change. You know, we're in 2020.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, there were certain things that happen in society that's normal now, that as a kid, I'm like, whoa, that wasn't normal. Do you get what I mean? You know, so people grow, people evolve, and that's just life. So when people do get called out for their quote unquote, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, people just need to relax. It's not that deep.
I know
it literally isn't that deep.
I know exactly what you mean, but then what happens when you're in a situation, because I've seen this as well, where a person who has been quote unquote cancelled, the narrative is skewed. So something is taken out of context and viraled. So you said something as a response to somebody else, but if you look at the whole chain of responses, it would then make that response make sense. Even if it wasn't quite right, the thing that was said, it then gives context. You see a lot of people being cancelled without context. But then,
that's a good point.
But then at the same time, there are people who have these views, have gotten away with sharing these views, making these statements, and then being caught out for it down the line when they think that nobody has noticed. So then there's also, you see what I mean? It's like there's like a counter argument between one school of thought, which is a person's words were taken out of context, versus another person knowing exactly what they were saying, but getting away with it for an extended period of time. So it's like, sometimes how do you, unless you're going to spend all your time trying to look into what everyone's saying before you form a judgment, is it even the person looking at its responsibility, or is it the person speaking?
That's a tricky one. I think that's a tricky one. But I do feel like drawing it all back together, Fab, what you're saying about cancel culture, there's this whole thing where why is it okay for someone to say that person's cancelled? Then everyone else will be like, yeah, that's right, they're cancelled. And everyone jumps on it. And then, like you said, then back to the context thing, they haven't seen the context. Some haven't even seen the messages. They're going by what they saw someone else see, and then they told it back to them. When did it become so much like sheep that we have to draw our own opinions on somebody based on what someone else has told us to think and believe? Because that's what I'm worried about. We're all in that space. And that's how it is.
It's actually you raise a very great point, because what happens with social media as well, and let's talk about the Wiley thing, which we've discussed before. A lot of the actual tweets that he supposedly said were actually photoshopped.
Yep.
And that was put onto different blogs and stuff, but they were photoshopped, and I didn't know this until like kind of afterwards. So then what happens is people believe things that are not real. So then all of a sudden it's like, it's a very dangerous place, because someone can photoshop something that I may say and then be like, oh, Franklin said this, and that's not the case. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, you said that, you cancelled, oh my God, why did you say that? And that's kind of, you know, I mean, you know, even someone tried to get upset with me for liking Wiley's post. I'm like, really? Like, do you get what I mean? I feel that people need to remain quiet. I don't think people, like you say, Simon, people should not judge people based on what they say.
Mm.
If the context is, for example, the time has gone past, they're a different person now, look at everything the person's done. Like whoever, like I swear, whoever's watching this, whoever believes in cancel culture, I do not like you. I'm just being honest. If you believe in cancel culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like you. That's me. I'm just being honest. I don't like you. Don't talk to me. Don't follow that. I don't like anyone who believes in cancel culture, because people change, innit? And it's not up to any individual based on someone's merit to cancel. Like, people try to cancel me. Like, after everything I've done, people try to say, oh, the king is cancelled, Franklin's cancelled, because I talked about a pair of traders. Please, you know, people have to get off their high horse and know that, okay, someone has made a mistake. It's like it's in the Bible, he without sin, you know what I'm saying? Like, throw the first stone. Like,
that's right, cast the first stone, for real.
That's how it is.
But
that's real.
Don't you feel that, in my opinion, right, I always feel that it's people that lack some form of self-esteem and I don't know, who then look and happily cancel other people out. Because for example, me as a person, I feel very comfortable in my skin, yeah, and when I see someone do something that's out of turn or not the right way, I always want to look at the reasons why they've done it. I'm not looking for a reason to drag them down. So I want to know the whole idea of what happened. I always tend to find people who are happy to cancel people straight away are people who want other people not to do well. Yeah. They want to see them collapse in some way, and they're happy to see this negative news about them, and they'll happily extend it and pass it on without researching anything, because they don't want them to do well. And I say this all the time, but I just honestly believe that. But there are some people that I don't believe in cancel culture, but I do believe they are repeat offenders of this, and they do it on purpose. Indeed. And that is that makeup person. Oh God, what is this person's name? There's this makeup guru who's massive, and he is continually racist all the time. And there are tweets and things for him for years, and people still go on about how great he is. For me as a person, I've researched him and this constant thing he's been doing over an amount of years. I will not counsel him, but I will not endorse him either, because I see what he's doing.
It's actually, you raise a great point. You see what you just now said? You researched him, and you saw that he has been a continuous offender. That's when you can pass judgment. You know, when you actually willing, before you go and say this person is cancelled, are you willing to do the work to find out what their character is? You know, and that's what a lot of people are just not willing to do. You've done basically what probably 95% of people just don't do. They don't go into, like, that's why I'll be honest, like, people hit me up with so many things. Franklin, talk about this, talk about that, talk about this, talk about that, because they know I've got a platform. And if I'm honest, I don't want to feel used and manipulated by this. So I actually say, you know what, let me find out, you know, let me see what's going on and see why this person had to have character. You know, it's all about research. It's all about context. You can't just be like, oh, this person said something, so that's it. It don't work. It don't work. Research and, you know.
You know what's mad about
that? You know, look at,
You know what's mad about that? It's the fact that I feel like the majority of people don't even think about it as if they're dealing with real people. It's like it's a video game to them. Yeah, so when it's happening and they see everyone jumping on the bandwagon, there they are jumping on the bandwagon. And then if it's proven that that person actually hadn't done the things they've been accused of, that everyone had jumped on the bandwagon, you wouldn't see those people with their high chest come and apologize and, you know what, that was wrong of me to jump in and X, Y, Z. They'll just act like it didn't happen. Meanwhile, damage has been done to that person and their career in most cases. Yeah, most cases where these things happen, it impacts on the person in their career, their family life, their mental well-being, their health, but people don't stop to think about those things. They just don't look at this whole thing as like a digital extension of us. Yeah, it's just a game to them. And it's like, I wonder how these people would feel if individuals stepped into their life playing games with their life.
Indeed.
Yeah? Would they stop to think about this, or would they look externally and blame? I feel like most of these people would blame because they don't look inwardly. That's why they can do it and not feel no way.
Yeah. I definitely feel that it is like you guys were saying, it's people's self-esteem. You can't look at someone else's life and be like, I want to cancel their life. I want to cancel what they're doing. Do you get what I mean? And going back to repeat offenders, let us call a spade a spade. Black people are not allowed to make mistakes. You know, because when unfortunately a white, yeah, it's true. When unfortunately a white, maybe commentator or something says something bad on Twitter, which is racist, which is, prejudice, which is sexist, anything like that, they get kind of dragged through the mud for the, sorry? Yeah, exactly. They get dragged through the mud maybe, for about a week or two, and then people forget. And they're still allowed to keep their channels. Do you understand? They're still allowed to keep their, I got racist abuse. Everyone saw what the guy said. His page is still up. Do you get what I mean? Like, his page is still allowed to be active, and he's still allowed to, do you get what I mean? He just changed his name, and he's still allowed to say the same racist abuse. Do you get what I mean? When I called him out on his racist abuse, I doubled his followers. He got 200 new followers, on top of what he had, and you start to think to yourself, yeah, I had, the guy said something racist. It was seen 50,000 times on my page alone. Yeah. Over 3,000 comments. It was shared by more than 100 pages. Yeah. And then my page gets taken down. Like, my post gets taken down because it's breaking community guidelines. I'm like, he gets reported probably 100 times and nothing happens. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, so where is the justice? And then, God forbid, it'll be a black guy that says something about a Jew or says something about a white person. Oh my God, no, you can't say that. We got to put things into real, honest context. We as the black people in this country, the minute we do something bad, it's like, it's an extra, even when I am online now, I'm trying my best to just make sure everything I do is clean. Like, oh, don't, I'm not even trying to like people's pictures no more, because, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to reply to nothing that seems, a bit, because I don't want someone to go, oh, Frank, you see, you replied to, yeah. So unfortunately, this is the truth. This is my truth, innit? I'm not trying to, make it a black versus white thing, but this is just my truth of what I see.
Yeah, you know what? I think this has been, since we've got to the kind of, I think more so the Instagram era, yeah, is where this has become the case. I think before, I would almost say not completely colorblind, but it was a bit colorblind, social media and platforms and bits and pieces. But as it's moved towards, we're running ads, we're trying to attract certain audiences, we're trying to have certain people do certain things on the platform, you're starting to notice this whole, one thing can slide for one person that can't slide for another.
Yeah, definitely.
I hear MCs talk about this. Like, I hear JME say Instagram is like a weird place, and he actively boycotts it as a platform, and he doesn't see why. He also states, like, he doesn't actually understand why anyone's on it, because it's very toxic. Yeah, Giggs deactivated his account because he didn't want to waste time on it. Couldn't see a purpose for it. I know there is a purpose for it, but I think discrimination is allowed.
Mm.
And it goes across the board now. You could be on Pinterest, it'll be the same thing. You could be on Snapchat and it will be the same thing. You'll be on TikTok, it will be the same thing. Like,
definitely.
Just across the board.
Yeah.
And you know, like, but what can you really do about it? That's the real question. What can you do about it, though?
The thing is, right, I'm sure you've seen that Shaka Bar's had his page pulled down.
No, I didn't, you know.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that. Really?
No?
When?
Okay, so Shaka Bar's had his page down for nearly 2 weeks now, and there's a hashtag going on Twitter, and it was there, like, literally all through last week saying, like, bring back his page. Yeah, they pulled down his page.
Check that out.
Again, I'm not sure if they've reinstated it. I don't think they have, but literally it was down for 2 weeks. And, you know, people, they said that he's basically breaking the terms. And they pulled his page. Yeah, it's gone.
By doing what, though?
Yeah, it's gone again. It's gone.
Oh, they're taking the piss. No, they're taking
the piss. Open a new page.
He had to start a whole new one. They pulled it down. He had like nearly, how much? Nearly 1 million now?
He had 1 million plus followers, yeah.
Every time he gets to a certain point, they pull him down. And it's like, we're not going to, you know, and
I'm looking at it now. Oh, honestly, I didn't know.
There was a hashtag on Twitter saying, you know, bring back his page, and look how much people say racist things to him, and he go back and forth on lives with people all the time, and nothing's ever, like you said, Fab, nothing's ever done to their pages. But then there he is, over 1 million followers, and just like that, wiped out completely. And this is what happens to us all the time.
Oh, no,
we can't have an opinion.
He's been brought back. It's back.
He's been brought back.
Yeah, it's brought back.
Yeah, it's back.
He's got his full followers.
Yeah, 1 million followers. Yeah, he's back. This is 1 day ago. It says, thank you, Instagram.
Good. Because...
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, that was literally 3 weeks of petitioning to get him back, right? But it happens to him every few months, I swear it. But people, I go on his page, and the racism that he goes through and the things that they say to him, none of them people's pages are pulled down ever. So it's true what you're saying, Fab. It's true what you're saying, that, you know, we can't knock these platforms because we know what benefit they have to our business. We know what it does. We host our podcasts and we share our stuff on these platforms. But you'd be wrong to say that there's not a distinction of how we as people of colour are treated. We have an opinion that they don't want to hear.
For sure.
And that is a fact.
I mean, even the Instagram CEO said that they're going to look at stuff like verification. Because for the black communities and stuff, because we don't get verified as quick enough, we don't get acknowledged. Do you get what I mean? Like as black, you know, people in the public eye and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? So it's a big and a very complex conversation, you know. However, going back to your question, Simon, the purpose. Use your platform for a purpose that generates some sort of, I don't want to say revenue, because it's not always about revenue, but generates some sort of meaning. Like you see the way I use my platform. I'm promoting myself. I'm unashamed in that. I'm promoting myself. I promote what we do. I promote. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I use my platform for. I create content and promote myself. If you're using your platform and you feel that you're getting too embedded in it, you don't have to. I personally think you don't have to deactivate. If you're at a stature of a person in the entertainment, you know, hand it over to your PR company, let them promote, because you're gonna have you have an audience. Do you know what I'm saying? So don't let that audience go to waste. Utilize it, hand it over to your PR company, and then let them do it. Simple. Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's why I'm not really, I understand what you're saying, Simon, like with gigs and different people like deactivating their account, but at the same time, I don't fully get it, because they have audiences on those platforms who are their supporters and fans and who are waiting for content to be dropped on that, and then they go to search them and they're gone. And I always say, you know, and I don't really think that's really fair in a sense. I understand where they're coming from, but I always say to people, if things become too toxic, take a break from it. But don't break from it. And what I mean is take a break, sign out, but be there. Like have your pictures there. People coming to see you. to look at things, and they go and find you, and you're gone. So it's bigger picture, you know what I mean? Is you got an audience of people who want to come and see you. So
yeah,
exactly that. And again, when you look at, let's be honest, when you look at entertainment as a whole, why is it only a certain type of person that has to feel they have to deactivate their account? Do you get what I mean? Like, I don't want to go back to the colour thing, but why is it you don't see? Yeah, why don't you see the other man them logging off and deactivating and all that? You know, we got to start to regulate ourselves and be like, okay, if we're spending too much time on it, we have a music company, we have a manager, we have a PR company. Let them take over. Do you get what I mean? Because technically, I think people who deactivate their Twitters, their social media, are people who may be too invested in it. Do you get what I mean? To the point that it's affecting their personal lives. So take a step back. I spend a lot of time on social media, a lot of time, but I'm not invested in it where it's affecting my personal life. I'm still the same person. Do you get what I mean? Like, do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, you guys have known me for what, 10 years now or something like that. So
yeah,
I haven't changed. You get what I mean? I've been the same person. I've probably got a little bit busier, but that's it. I'm still the same person. You know, even with, you know, the heights of my King of Trainers page, I'm still the same person. And I feel that sometimes when you look at people who they get to a certain height on social media, the reason why they deactivate is because they've changed. Does that make sense? Like, they've kind of changed, or they feel that, oh man, it's too much for my life. Like, but then, it's not.
But then I would say though, some artists do it in terms of kind of an absence makes the heart grow fonder.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
They're coming from that perspective, like, and they'll deactivate, building towards something, and then drop something and come back.
That's fine.
So there's also that side of it as well. So I appreciate that, but then I 100% get what you're saying in regards to, you know, just don't be so deep-rootedly like invested in it. Be able to disconnect yourself from what it really is, which is a digital way to amplify, like you said, your purpose.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You know? So then flipping it around, what about people who are using I was younger when I said that tack? Because some people use that and it's true. Others, it's not the case.
I think that's up to the individual. Like, if someone says that, like, and then you can look at it, like Sasha, like you said, research. It's all about researching. If they said it when I was younger and they've changed now, because come on, we've all said crazy things. There's not what I always say this. I said this to someone. I said there's not one racist person. There's not one non-racist person in the world. Like, in terms of things they said. And I heard that from a pastor. I heard that from a man of God said that. Everyone has said a racist thing. And this comes from a man of God. You get what I mean? So it's like, I believe that. And there's certain things you say when you're a kid. So, but it's all about researching the person. If the person has changed their life and been like, now they don't say the X, Y, and Z, that's, you know, let them think. And there's certain things you used to say as a kid that is racist now. Does that make sense? Or prejudice now? But you said it. That was the normal language as a kid. For example, people used to say the N-word. That was normal language at one stage. Yep. People now say colored people. That was normal language at one stage. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, so it's about researching the person, and then, you know, identifying if they've changed, if they meant it, and then move on.
Definitely, yeah. You know what? I agree with that. I think that's very true. People should research. One thing I would add though is, even when younger, it goes back to the initial point that you made, where you said that kids should be taught this stuff, like kind of social media etiquette. Yeah. I think it's important that the family of the children are there and are involved in what their kids do on social media, rather than taking a hands-off approach.
Indeed.
Because obviously, like, when you go online, it's a whole different world to what's out on the streets and what you're doing. It's like everything's coming in so fast and everything's happening so fast. And there's even situations where kids have shown vulnerability online. Yeah, they've shown vulnerability online because they didn't realize the impact of showing that vulnerability. And the very next day, they're getting bullied in school to the point where there's kids who have committed suicide because they've just said something online about how they felt about something, or you know, they mentioned about something at home, and then it turned into, oh, you're a tramp, oh, you're disgusting, get away from me.
Yeah.
You know, and for kids, that's damaging. Yeah, to not have that input. But adults, I think a lot of adults get overlooked in terms of the mental impact of, as an adult, maybe you didn't run something by the people around you before you put it out there. You just threw it out there, and you got the kind of response you got. I think from a child perspective, there needs to be that etiquette, that training. But I think for adults who are maybe a bit more aware, I feel like before putting something out, if you're, because I think that most of the time when people put out something that's a bit left, there's a part of them that goes, should I put this out there? And they just go, oh, go on, and they put it out. Yeah.
I think so.
I don't think that most people that say something that is obviously left just type it and write it and there's zero thought, because they had to think about it to type it to send it.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I think people should be running stuff by those around them, their own little circle, their own network.
I can agree with that. I think you're right. And just to kind of round up, I believe that's good. That is, if you're a personal stature, like meaning like content creator, blog, whatever, if you got people around you, what you have to understand is a lot of people use social media as an escape mechanism. So sometimes they use it as their kind of sounding board to kind of escape from reality. So some people don't actually have those people around them to kind of check them and be like, you know what? However, if you are in music or entertainment or public figure or whatever it may be in the public arena, then yeah, you've got someone that you can kind of be like, okay, let me let them in. However, like I think the main point here is people just need to be educated. People just need to kind of know what they can say, know what they can't say, and also be mindful of what they are saying. You know, and that's really it. I don't think there should be any censorship. I don't think people should get their accounts deleted if they made a mistake, if they're true. Yeah. It's, you know, we shouldn't have censorship. We need freedom of speech. Unfortunately, freedom of speech is a dangerous ground because people are losing their lives because of freedom of speech. You know, rest in peace to people in France and stuff for, like, you know, speaking about certain things. But it's one of those situations where we need to kind of get to a ground where you're able to say what you believe, you know, good or bad, whether we agree or don't agree. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, as long as you're not offending anybody and you're speaking your truth, you know, you shouldn't offend. That's the one thing about it. Don't offend no one. But at the end of the day, there's certain things that you should be allowed to say that it provokes conversation, a bit like Speaker's Corner. You get what I mean? But that really is kind of where my thing. Just educate yourself and just be very, you know, aware not to offend.
One thing I'd add to that is there is a challenge in that though, which is language. Because we're all speaking English right now, but there's lots of different variants of speaking English. Lots of broken English. So if someone types how they speak, can things also be... You find situations where someone hasn't said something with a meaning that someone else has taken it to mean, and they run with that from this cancel culture perspective. But the way it's been said, if you're from, I don't know, let's just say, for example, you're from North London, or you're from your local South London, or whichever area, wherever, and there's a lot of slang, and you use a lot of slang within your speech, and you use a lot of slang online. You know, that can also leave you open to the interpretation of It can leave what you've said open to interpretation from someone that doesn't actually understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and most people aren't going to ask. So is that the fault of the person who speaks slang, or is that for people to sometimes just butt out of the conversation?
Butt out.
But
out.
But out.
Not everything needs your input and your opinion of what someone else is saying. If it's a conversation that involves you and doesn't involve you, we're too engrossed in everybody else's situation. And yes, it's been put out in public domain, but you don't have to put yourself in that domain, you know. And it's about people being a bit too nosy and too over interested in other people's life. Okay, and I think as a problem of people and balance as well. Celebrities, everyone thinks that celebrities are their property. Like, so many people think they own them, and when they say something, you know, it's their right to comment on it because they put themselves in the public eye. It's not that. People just need to learn how to pull themselves back and understand that it's not everything you must have an opinion on and feel open to share it every single time either. Some things keep behind closed doors, basically.
Yeah, very true. That's exactly how I felt about that whole, when I initially saw that whole video and Stormzy and that whole thing, that's exactly how I felt about that. I was like, there was no reason for that to be on social media. That wasn't a conversation for us. That was between them.
Indeed.
You know, but unfortunately, it's not just regular folk who get in on that, it's celebrities too, who play a part in that. You know, some celebrities use that to build their numbers at the detriment of other people. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I look at everything that's going on. I think everyone's too involved in everything when it comes to online. Trying to be here, over there, everywhere. It's like, goes back to what you said, Fabs, when you mentioned MSN. MSN, it was your community that you'd be talking to, it was your people. You know them, you have their email address, that's who you're talking to. Yeah. Then we got the high fives, the flipping face pics, the Bebos, whatever else. Again, it was your network, you know, some sort of email invitation. Now you're connected. But it would be your people in your network. And they might introduce you to someone outside of your network, but there were introductions. Now there's no introduction whatsoever. You comment about something, yeah, passionately. A bunch of people see your passionate comment, they agree and resonate with you. Now they're following you. But there's no connection with you in any way, shape, or form. People are not. I feel like the point of social media is being missed by a lot of people. Yeah, and like you said, it's the soundboarding thing. But then it means you're saying everything. Everything that's in your head. You know, that you wouldn't even say in a conversation. You'd be at work. You'd be in front of your manager. You're going to say all those things you said on social media to that person. But they're treating the sounding board, aka social media, as if everybody is their friend. Yeah, these regular individuals, forgetting that if they're looking for a job, there are a lot of recruiters who, to cut through the chaff, they'll go and check out people's social media. Yeah, so we'll go and look at your social media and go, okay, that's your views on these things. Don't think you're going to be a match for this employer. Nah, you're not level-headed. Cool, you're out. Yeah, or you talking can put you in predicaments you didn't need to be in, because you then say you're about something, but in the past you were about something else. Now that information's there. If I want to then go and research you and I see that there, now I've got doubts. Even though you are a different person right now, it doesn't mean I won't have doubts. I'm human. Do you see what I mean? So, I don't know, man. I feel like, yes, people do need to get trained, but when you're an adult, take responsibility is what I'd say. Take responsibility for yourself the same way you would take responsibility in your job, the same way you would take responsibility, hopefully, in your family life, the way you would take responsibility when you're out in the public places. It's kind of what that's my view on it. You know, but yeah, I guess we could go on about this all day long. Yeah, but we're not going to do that. We're going to close out. I think yeah, Sasha, 100% agree with you with what you were saying about people being nosy. I think a lot of it comes down to nosiness. Fabs, what you said about the need for education on social media being important, and the fact that social media platforms themselves have to do more, be more accountable for equality. Like, the rules apply to everybody in equal measures. Because if they don't, you know, you're being a part of the problem rather than a part of the solution. Doesn't matter who the owner is. The owner is a human being, and they have a responsibility as the owner to make sure that what they say goes and trickles all the way down to whoever makes those changes on the platform. So, yeah, I'd definitely say that accountability is there. And then from my perspective, I feel like as adults, people need to be more self-aware when they hit social media. And there definitely needs to be purpose, like you said, Fabs. But it'd be very interesting to see what you beautiful individuals think who have been watching this. Yeah, I know it can get quite bleak sometimes when we talk about these subjects, but that's not the intention. The intention is not for these discussions to be bleak in any way, shape, or form. It's to get people thinking. It's to get real conversations going. You know, we want to shake things up a little bit. Yes, we could talk about what someone was wearing on the red carpet and what someone's hair looked like, and that somebody broke up in a relationship somewhere on the other side of the earth. But that ain't why we're here. And hopefully that's not why you're here. So if you're here for the same reason we're here, leave a comment, like this video, share it amongst your friends, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you're first in the queue to see another one of these Then Everything After podcasts by your boy Amax.
And Franklin, aka the King of Trainers.
All
Peace.
Right, we're out.